Hello, good afternoon, Morris class. Miss Baig here, and welcome to your comprehension lesson. Today is the 8th of January 2021. So in today's lesson, we will be answering questions about a text by reading and listening to it. So you need to have your listening ears ready, your magnet eyes ready, and let's begin. Okay. So remember, you're listening to me reading the story, and then we're going to answer the questions, okay? So good listening, Morris class. You don't need any recording for this, so you don't need a pen or a pencil or a piece of paper because we're working through the questions together, okay? So don't worry if you don't have anything to write with or write on because we're just talking through. This is a talking through lesson. Okay, so let's begin. Listening ears on. Sorry, excuse me. This is Bob. Perhaps you have heard people talk of him. You may know him better as the man on the moon. Okay, so let's see now the question. What is his name? So what is his name? What is the main character's name? Bob. Well done. Okay, what do people call him? What do people call him? Can you say it? The man on the moon. Fantastic. Well done. You definitely have your listening ears on, Morris class. Okay, next one. This is where Bob lives. Every morning he rises at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to stop there and just explain what rises means. So rises means he wakes up in the morning. Okay, he rises as in it's the process of being lifted up or going upwards. Okay, like the sun rises. Okay, so this is where Bob lives. Every morning he rises at 6 o'clock. He has a cup of tea and 2 eggs for breakfast. Before leaving the rocket launch pad, on the way he stops to buy a newspaper and some chocolate toffees. He's on his way to work. So what time does Bob wake up? Brilliant. Did you get it? 6 o'clock. Well done. Fantastic. Fantastic listening, Morris class. Okay. So this is where Bob lives. Every morning he rises at 6 o'clock. He has a cup of tea and 2 eggs for breakfast before leaving for the rocket launch pad. On the way, he stops to buy a newspaper and some chocolate toffees. He's on his way to work. Now it says choose two. What does Bob buy on the what does Bob buy on the way to work? What does Bob buy on the way to work? So there's 2 things that he buys on his way to work. What are those 2 things? Let's have a look. 2 eggs? Is it 2 eggs? Newspaper, chocolate truffles, or number 4, a rocket? So choose 2 things from that list, sorry. Okay, now, if you are a little bit confused, let's go back to the text. Okay, so it says, before leaving for the rocket launch pad, on the way, he stops to buy. Okay, so that's answering the question. What does Bob buy on the way to work? So on the way, he stops to buy. So I know that my answer is going to be in this sentence, on this line. So let's read it. On the way, he stops to buy a newspaper and some chocolate toffees. So let's find now. Where does it say which number is newspaper? Is it number 1? No. Is it number 2? Yes, it's number 2. And chocolate toffee. So is this chocolate toffees? Nope. Is this chocolate toffees or truffles? Yes, fantastic. And a rocket. No, he doesn't buy a rocket. So he buys a newspaper and some lovely chocolate. Do you think that he should be having chocolate for breakfast? Oh, naughty Bob. Okay. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives at the launch pad, changes into his special man on the moon suit, and boards his fantastic rocket ship. He must make sure he leaves by 8:45, otherwise he wouldn't make it to the moon by 9. On the way, he reads the newspaper and does the crossword. So let's find out what our question is. So, what does Bob change into when he arrives at the launch pad? So, let's look at the question and pick out the key information that we need to answer. It says, What does Bob change into when he arrives at the launch pad? So let's get my pen out so I can underline and or highlight some things. So I think that would be a lot better. So let's use my favorite color, green. Let's use green so I can underline the key information. Okay, what does Bob change into? That's a key bit of key information. When he arrives at the launch pad. Okay, now let's read. Sorry. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives, okay, at the launch pad, changes into his special man on the moon suit and boards his fantastic rocket ship. So what does Bob change into? It's somewhere over here, the answer, isn't it? So have a quick read, talk to your teddy. What do you think the answer is? And then we'll reveal it in a minute. He changes into his moon suit. Well done if you got that right. Great job. Okay. Now, what is the next question? So it says, find the word that means the same as to get on. So when you get onto something. Okay, so if I were to get into an elevator, for example, or a lift, so that's to get on. Or if I were to get onto a train or onto a bus. Okay, so let's see. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives at the launch pad. You see, there's a lot of repetitive reading, so you really need to find the answers. So this is what comprehension is about. You need to find the answers within the text, okay? So that's why you need to have really good ears for listening and really good looking for reading. So by 8 o'clock, oh, now I can't see because the little bar is in the way. I'll wait for it to move and then I can read what's on my screen. There we go. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives at the launch pad, changes into his special man on the moon suit, and boards his fantastic rocket ship. So I think the answer might be somewhere around here. So what do you think? Have a think. Talk to your teddy. What do you think the answer could be? Then we'll reveal it in a second. The answer is board. Board. Well done. Like I would board a train if I'm going sightseeing, or I would board a plane. So that means to get on. Well done. That was a little bit tricky. Okay, what's the next question? What happens if Bob doesn't leave on time? Right, so what's the question asking me? Let's really think about this. Let's dig deep, Morris class. So what happens if Bob doesn't leave on time? Okay, I understand the question. Let's read the text and find the answer. The answer is always within the text, okay? It's not just asking you any random question. So you can't answer this question by saying, what happens if Bob doesn't leave on time? Or make a story up saying, his mummy will get upset, or his toe might start itching, or his cat might become hungry. So we need to find the answer from within the text. The text is the piece of writing that is on the screen. Okay, so let's find the answer from reading the text. By 8 o'clock, Bob arrives at the launch pad. Okay, so, okay. Changes into his special man on the moon suit and boards his fantastic rocket ship. Okay, that's not telling me anything about what happens if Bob doesn't leave on time. Oh, he must make sure he leaves. Right, okay, so here's leaves and leaves. So I know it's definitely around here somewhere because that's the same word. He leaves by 8:45, okay, which is 8:45. Otherwise, he wouldn't make it to the moon by 9. Okay, right. So what happens if Bob doesn't leave on time? So I think he must make sure he leaves by 8:45. Otherwise, he wouldn't make it to the moon by 9. What do you think the answer is? Have a think. Have a think. Talk to your teddy. 3, 2, 1. Let's reveal. He wouldn't make it on time. He would get late. Okay, so he's on a very tight schedule. So for example, if we were going into school, if you don't wake up by at least 7 or 7:30, then you wouldn't be on time for school on a normal school day. So you have to wake up by a certain time to give yourself some time to travel to school, have your breakfast and all that good stuff. Okie dokie. Right, we're on our last one now, Morris class. So let's read the text. Bob starts work. His job as man on the moon is very important. He has to keep the moon clean and tidy. Quite often, astronauts drop sweet packets and cans. Some people say that aliens are responsible for much of the rubbish, but Bob knows that's not true. There's no such thing as aliens. Right, let's see what the question is. So, right. Oh, I don't want to give you the answer. Okay, find a word. So this is what, right, we need to do some good listening. Find a word that shows that the people blame the aliens for leaving rubbish on the moon. So this is more like a challenge 3 question, okay? So find a word that shows that the people blame the aliens for leaving rubbish on the moon. So I'm going to read the text to you one more time and then see if you can figure out which word do you think is similar to blame. Okay, so Bob starts work. His job as man on the moon is very important. He has to keep the moon clean and tidy. Quite often, astronauts drop sweet packets and cans. Some people say that aliens are responsible for much of the rubbish. Okay, right, so in the question we have rubbish, the word, and leaving rubbish. And here it's rubbish. So I know that the answer is going to be around, it's here somewhere, in this section here. So it's not in the top section, it's in this piece of text over here. So some people say that aliens are responsible for much of the rubbish, but Bob knows that's not true. There's no such thing as aliens. So what word shows that people blame the aliens for leaving rubbish on the moon? So have a think, pause the video here if you need some time to think and you need to read the text over again, and then we'll reveal the answer in a second. The answer is responsible. So well done to you if you got that right. If you didn't get that right, that's okay. That was more of a challenge 3 question. That was a little bit tricky, but well done, Morris class, for taking your time and going through this comprehension lesson with me. So I hope you have enjoyed. So there's no recording on Tapestry for this lesson because we've worked through the answers. Okay, so we've talked about the answers throughout the lesson. So thank you very much for joining me again. And we have come to the end of this video. It is the end of the week as well. So please do have a lovely weekend and I will see you next week. Take care, Morris class. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.